Welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. And today I have Gabrielle Alessi joining me. And for those of you who do not know, she is the youngest.
Yes, I am.
Of all four of my kids. Somebody just told me, Gabby, you are a triple threat.
Wow.
You have that much power.
Yes, I can sing, dance, and act.
Oh. And speak and lead, and
that's what a triple threat really is sing, dancing, and acting.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's what they say. But what is this person?
I'm not even sure what they meant by that.
I'm threatening, obviously.
No. Are you?
That's what that person said about me.
Are you sure?
That person in this room?
None.
Okay, just making sure.
No. And I don't even know
who
I can give you any more details because you always figure out what I'm trying to
very
hide.
True.
Yes,
that's
your little
the threatening
brain
part.
Is ahead. That is true. Okay, Gabs.
Yes.
We talk things here in the podcast booth that we don't usually talk about on Sunday. But if we had a chance, because of everything that's been happening in the world, we'd probably discuss this more in detail on a Sunday. Mom and I finished up a podcast about dealing with fear because we have all of a sudden seen what's happening with Ukraine and Russia and what that must have felt like for a lot of young people. Now, 2 years ago, it was COVID.
Yeah.
This younger generation, however young you are, that is out there, the younger generation had to deal with what was considered a worldwide pandemic. People by the millions were going to be dead because of it. And they've had to deal with that for 2 years. Now they wake up at this season of life and there is a military invasion occurring. Now they're seeing it on social media, seeing it on news, hearing mom and dad talk about it. So much has come against this young generation in the last year. Just the mask mandates, how we have seen them be told to hide behind this mask. It's going to protect you, keep you from getting sick, and yet some of them still get sick. And what do? They hear about their friends. They hear about family members that get it. There's so much in young people, facing young people today, that it could stir up a whole lot of fear.
Yeah.
So you work with our young people here at our church. What are you picking up on lately with this?
I would say, first of all, if we're going to address the Ukraine situation, I've never been through this before. I've never experienced a war. I've only really watched movies about it or have been taught in a class. So naturally, if you were to ask a young kid right now, a middle schooler, high schooler, even a college age young adult, hey, what's going on? What does this make you feel? We really wouldn't know what to tell you because all we know is what Instagram is telling us. And mostly what Instagram is telling us is just to pray for Ukraine. So I think the thing, if you're a parent right now and you're wondering, how do I approach this? Is my kid afraid? Most likely they don't know what to be afraid of because they don't know what this entails. So I would actually encourage parents to inform their children on what's happening and how, as Christians, we handle this, that we know the righteous will never be forsaken and how we should not fear. But explain the situation, because all we are picking up on is that we have to pray for a place, but we don't know much of the information that's going on there. When it comes to COVID and the fears, it's a real deal.
Yeah.
And it's not just the virus. The virus it's gone through. Kids have gotten it. All of our students have gotten it, have come back from it. They've been fine. It is the long-lasting effects of the quarantine and mostly the masks, where we will see students. I'll see students on Mondays or even Wednesdays that still wearing a mask. And I'll ask them, hey, what's going on there? And why do you still wear it? And most of the time, they wear it because that's what they've been told for the last 2 years. They're not really wearing it anymore because their parents have told them to do it or whatever. They're wearing it because that's their normal. It's normal to cover their faces. And what we've seen from that is not even fear, Dad. It's insecurity. Kids don't want to take it off because now they have found the perfect remedy to covering their acne. The perfect remedy, if they don't like their nose, I can just put my mask on. If I don't like how I'm feeling that day, I just put my mask on, I'll put glasses on, and I'm good. So it's actually provided the perfect thing for them to cover up the one thing that they want to cover, which is their looks. And then you're seeing a whole lot of just this trend of let's just stay hidden, and kids aren't having conversations anymore.
Mm.
And this is what I actually wanted to bring up to you. That there was a study in West Palm Beach, and this lady said she is a speech therapist over there, and it said during this pandemic, her speech therapy clinic has seen an enormous shift in the ages of its patients. Before the pandemic, only 5% of patients were babies and toddlers, while today it's soared to 20%. So what was 5% of babies and toddlers struggling to speak and have a conversation and learn words? That's 5%. It's jumped to 20% in just 2 years. So we're actually seeing, because in schools, toddlers are still asked to wear masks, we're actually seeing kids that are, whether they're wearing the mask or they see their parent is wearing a mask, they are not learning how to talk. And so I have not only seen this in babies, yes, but we're seeing it in middle schooler and high schoolers, how they don't know how to have conversations today. Normal, hey, how are you? What'd you do today? They have lost the art of conversation because they've been told for 2 years, just cover your face. And we know you can't really talk through the masks. So I would say you're seeing a lot of insecurity, but a lot of delays in their development.
You know, whether you have a mask on or not, you're always talking.
I am, yes.
Yes.
That's why I don't like to wear the mask.
No, muffled at times, but you love to talk.
Yeah.
Some kids, they're not going to have a problem with the mask. They're not going to have problems with the whole COVID fear. There's others that will. Those that are a little bit more thought, they're not talking as much, but they're processing, thinking. They're going to have some. When they're hearing about a war, holy moly, that just stirs up all kinds of fears.
Yeah.
Some of them accustomed to playing games, and it's all about war in that environment. But yet, this is real life stuff. I like what you said, that a parent needs to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Somebody is having the conversation. Somebody's driving the narrative about all of this. It's great, though, for a parent to be able to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because also it helps in their development. First of all, it shows that you as a parent care enough about your child to inform them. So when you would come and sit us down about anything when we were younger, you and mom, it showed us as kids, wow, okay, they want us to understand what's going on, and you want to be the one that is sharing that. So that's number one. But number two, it is actually what I think people don't realize is when parents open up to have a conversation with their kid, they're teaching their kid how to talk. Kids maybe don't sit there and realize they're not taking notes. No, obviously, but they are picking up on cues. They're picking up on how you're sharing, how you're doing that. And ultimately, you're sharing the seriousness of the situation, because Instagram will make it seem serious, but it isn't, because it's only through our phones. We're only seeing pictures of what's going on. And even though people are like, look at the videos, to us as kids, everything's digital. So it feels like nothing's real anymore. But when you sit with your kid and you're saying, hey, this is real. This is what's happening over there. This is why we're praying for them. This is why we're wanting to help them. Because of the severity of it, a conversation goes much longer and farther than a video on Instagram does. Because like you said, the conversation's already started and somebody's already telling them. As a parent, don't you want to be the one to tell them instead of?
Yeah, and that's good, because communication is an art. We have to learn communication. And I like what you said there, Gabs, because as we talk to our kids, we're teaching our kids how to have the conversation with others, which is something you bring into every relationship that you're in, from the teacher in the classroom to describe how you're feeling about something, maybe the reason you're not getting the grades, and young person doesn't know how to really communicate without getting frustrated and angry, to them dealing with relationships and why they need to walk away from a relationship and explain it. All that communication is so important. So when a parent sits down to have the talk about these things and put it out on the table, it's great, because it is teaching the young person how to engage in the conversation, which it's good to be able to do that. And it's not always about, from a scriptural perspective, a Bible perspective. What we do is faith, and we use the Bible as a roadmap, and we teach out of that Bible. But at the same time, there's things that are just real world situation. The Bible's kind of its own metaverse. Things happen there, and we're all tied up, and it's hard to insert ourselves into it. We're in the real world. How do we then take what is in that Bible and insert it into our real world? That's where sometimes we flesh it out through conversation. And young people need to know how to deal with the fear, especially if this thing continues to power its way up, and we become more and more concerned about what's going on in that region. I mean, we thought COVID was bad.
Yeah.
Now it's not COVID and masks and vaccines. Now it's bombs and it's
missiles,
tanks. Gosh, this is like serious.
What I see and what most kids would see as movie stuff.
Yeah.
We've never seen this. It's funny when I'll sit with grandmommy and your mom, and how this is something that she's seen it before. This has happened in her generation. She knew about it. And then I'm sitting there and she's talking about it like it's nothing. And obviously she knows the severity of it, but she's lived through one. And I'm on the other side thinking, oh my gosh, are they about to show up on our front door? What is this?
Yeah.
But that's where a parent walking your kid through this, and not just, hey, this is what's happening in Ukraine, and then walking away or saying, this is what's happening, and this is how we approach this. This is how we're going to feel about this. We are not going to be afraid. We are going to trust that we're going to be safe. We are going to pray for the leaders that are in our country. We are going to keep having conversations and whatever. Don't just share the information and then leave. And also, Dad, you have to be very careful of the conversations that you have with your spouse or with your friends that your kids are around to hear. Because you and Mom could tell me, hey, this is what's happening in Ukraine, but we're safe. And then you guys can go in the kitchen and go, oh my gosh, what is happening? Let's turn on the news. And that we hear that. We're in the living room while you guys are in the kitchen. So those conversations are huge. Even what you're saying to your spouse, to your friends about everything, if as a parent you're not trusting, or if you're fearful, that will leak into your kids. Even if you have the conversation one-on-one with them, but you continue to talk differently beside or
helping kids stay on point too with their schoolwork, stay on point with their school.
Yes.
What their thoughts are for the future, dreaming, what do you want to be one day, and so on. That's a great way to keep them focused on down the road, not just what they see now, but down the road. And I'm afraid part of the depression that so many of our young people are in right now, that adolescent funk, is because they don't see a future. All they saw or heard for the last couple of years is this thing, COVID. And now they're seeing this war. That they're not seeing, okay, I'm going to be an attorney, or I'm going to one day be in business, and I'm going to be married, and I'm going to have kids. There's things that they're not focusing on because something here is getting their attention.
Yes.
How important is it to keep them thinking about the future in a good sense?
It's everything, because they need to have that passion for themselves. You could want it for your child, but they need to stir up that excitement to be something when they're older, to start a business. I was speaking to a couple of young girls last night, actually, and we had a girls' talk, and we were talking about everything that girls wanted to talk about. Well, then at the end, I just felt that I should share with them about their phones. And I said, we should limit, all of us, not just these kids, me too, the time that we spend on our phones, because we don't know what it's like to be bored. My generation, I've never had to sit in a kitchen and not have anything and literally just stare at the wall and wait for you to get home.
Yeah.
I've always been able to watch TV, go on my phone, not even go outside. We literally will stay inside. And when you are bored, so much comes out of it. Because when you're sitting and you're doing nothing, you think, okay, well, I have nothing to do. I can learn an instrument. I can go color. I can go draw. I can build something. And then those little things as a kid that you start to do, like learning an instrument or building, carpentry, whatever it is, will turn into a passion for a business or turn into, you know what, I want to go to school for this because I love music and it came out of a place of boredom. That is what kids lack today.
Mm-hmm.
Kids do not know, mom calls it the art of boredom, because there is so much that comes out of boredom. And there's so many kids. I mean, TikTok gives you a reminder. If you're on TikTok for an hour, the app will tell you, Dad, hey, it's been an hour. You should take a break. Have you ever heard of an app trying to tell you to get off the app? That's how it makes its money, of you being on. But it is noticed kids are so obsessed, and not kids, adults too, obsessed with this app and screen time that it's actually telling you, hey, you should take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Kids nowadays, they need to learn boredom, take some time off, have conversations, because out of that simple life that we have forsought, we need to go back to that, because it comes from the passion comes from that, the builder, the being a speaker, learning how to speak, learning how to be whatever it is. That's where we need to get back
The
to.
social media creators at the higher up don't even let their kids get on it.
No.
What does that tell you?
That shows that there are no benefits to it. I said it yesterday. I said, you really think that a school's going to look at your resume and say, wow, she spends 4 hours on TikTok a day. She should come here to this school. We should accept her. No, that's a turnoff.
No, I think corporations in the future, they're going to have time limits on how long a person can go sit in the restroom.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But businesses look at social media.
Yeah.
They judge you by your social media.
How long you are on it.
But
and
even your
it even
profile.
tells on you. When you're on, it'll say online.
It says active.
Active. There you go. Active. So they go to the bathroom and they're supposed to be going to the potty, get it over with, get back to work, but they're spending 10 minutes in there playing a game or checking social media. How ridiculous. It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time.
You got away from personally, you got away from some screen time. What have you started to do?
Oh my gosh. I do puzzles. So at the beginning of the year, I try to do that Bible shred, which is Nathan Finocchio, if he watches, he has this Bible shred, which in 30 days, you read the entire Bible. So me thinking a full-time college student, I got a part-time job at the church, I can definitely do this. I got through 10 days and I was on it. Nathan, if you're watching, I just want you to know, I got through 10 days consistent.
Yeah, he's watching.
And then I went back to, school started and work started, and then it all got delayed. But I told myself I wouldn't get back on social media until I finished the Bible. Well, that's kind of gotten that's not the point. While I was off social media, I wanted to do stuff on my off time.
You're back on social media?
For work purposes, literally for work purposes.
Okay.
And then I was bored. And I thought, what am I going to do? And also, how can I de-stress?
Mm.
And so I would either put on a TV show or whatever, or I'd put on music, or I'd put the Bible on and I would do a puzzle. Yep. Or I would get, I had a word search that I found at the church.
Actual paper word search.
And I looked like an old lady, and I would sit, and you guys would all.
I'm so proud of you, man.
It's the most calming thing, because it's, you also feel so productive. It's a game, but you feel productive because it's tangible.
Mm.
If you play a game on here, you're like, wow, level 345. You can't hold that. You can't grasp that in your hand and actually show somebody. It just shows a number. But I can give you a book and say, I completed all those things.
Yeah.
It's the tangible things.
Or I read it from front to back.
And I'm almost there.
Yeah, it's so funny. Parents today, they think they can control so much with their kid. And there's a measure of that they need to. But sometimes just a narrative, just a dialogue. If we're going to do something, let's talk.
Yeah.
And kids are going to be kids. We love it because of our new program here that we call our Young Fellas.
Mm-hmm.
8 to 18-year-old boys get together, and boys are just going to be boys. It's so cute. A couple of weeks ago, they were punching on a punching bag, which is so good. Any parent that has a rambunctious son, get him a punching bag so he doesn't go punch on his sisters.
Yeah.
Let him take all that at him. But it's so cute to see them all together. And even you said there was a few of them that got in the room.
Oh my gosh.
Together. And where before they were talking about their games on their phone, what happened?
They just started having a conversation. They were, and I mean, you're hearing them, bruh, bro, but they're having real conversation about what they saw that day and then what they're going to learn that night. And last week was so cool. And I was so proud of these. I mean, they're 9-year-olds, and they were having a conversation. And I swear, if you go over and you meet some sixth graders, 6th through 9th grade boys, they're quiet. They're quiet because 2 years ago, right when they were getting to the age of, I'm going to start talking, I'm going to learn how to be more literate, and I'm going to get better at my grammar and my vocabulary, the mask was put on them. And then they made them feel like if you would just breathe, you were a walking virus because of your breath. And then it stopped them from talking.
Yeah.
So that's why conversations are huge. Getting around the dinner table. I've always been somebody the dinner table is one of the most important places of the entire home. No phones, don't have a conversation, be honest with your kids, and just be open with them and ask them questions and get them talking.
You get on Mom and I if we're on our phones too much.
Because you get on us. But yes.
Yeah.
But we had to have the conversation a couple weeks ago. Because we will.
Who did you have it with?
You, Mom, and then I had it with you after.
You had it with Mom.
I was a little bit more scared when you were there.
No, that's not. You wanted me to support Mom.
Sure. Well, it's the whole thing of I'll wake up in the morning extra early to spend time with you guys, and that morning you
we're
guys
on
started,
our Bible.
Yeah, you're on your Bible apps that happen to be on your computer on the email tab.
I know. Well, that's we're passing on better habits these days of trying to avoid them. Oh, it's crazy. These things are just, they're a tether.
Yeah.
It's nuts. All I can think is this: what future plans are so great for this next generation that they need to go through these challenges at such a young age?
I wish I knew exactly what it was, but we know it's going to be grand.
It has to be, Gabs.
Because when there's a lot of opposition or things coming at you, you know there's something big coming. And we're going to see that. And if a parent's watching and young people that are listening to, I really hope young people listen to this, don't take COVID, don't take what's happening on the news or on social media as something that makes you retreat.
Yeah.
See it as, okay, I need to really work hard. I need to know, I want more information about this. I want to get better at this age so we can push past all of this. Because what we're going to see is a group of young people that are resilient. And when you have resilient people, those are strong people that are willing to do whatever they got to do. And so that resilience, parents should not be afraid of what's going to come from my kid. No. Take it as my mission for my kids is make sure they have the right information, that they are strong and they are ready, because they're going to be resilient for anything else that's going to come in the future. So we're about to see a really strong generation come up.
I think so. They say the greatest generation was a generation that came out of World War II.
Wow. Well, let's make
Think
it this
about
one.
that. It took a war.
Yeah.
We lost some people, lost a lot, but it took a war to really create some of the greatest people that we have known in the last century. So it takes hard times.
Yeah.
And we can't avoid them. We can't be afraid of them either, but we can't avoid them if we want to be great. Greatness requires going through some hard times. It teaches you not to rely on self. It teaches you that you really can reach down deeper and pull out something that's on the inside of you that you wouldn't know is there unless you had to reach deep.
Yeah.
It teaches you that when you get knocked down, you can get back up if you so desire.
Yeah.
So all of this with my generation, you know, I'm 61. I've seen some things like this commercial says. We know things because we've seen some things. I know we're going to come out of it. And that's why I just couldn't stay all masked up and locked up for too long with COVID, because I knew this was just one of those things we'd get by. But it's different for me. Your generation hasn't seen some things. The generation that's coming up behind you hasn't seen some things.
No.
But they have the potential. You have the potential to walk into some of the greatest aspects of life if you can deal with this in the right way.
Yeah.
That's why we can't mask them up. We can't keep them in fear. Mask is a sign of fear.
Yeah.
That's all it really is.
And
You're being told, cover up, to protect yourself. It's a form of fear. And you can't go be your best when you are being held back by fear. Courage is acting in the face of fear.
Yes.
Not putting on pause and holding yourself back. Courage says, hey, I'm afraid, but I got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I've got to push past the thing that is causing me to be afraid.
Yeah.
And your generation, the younger generation, has to get to that place where they can't complain about this. They can't be afraid of it.
No.
They have to be brought through it in a way that they know, wait a minute, this isn't the end.
No.
This is not the end. We're going to keep doing our life. We're not going to be in fear. And we're going to go forward. We're going to get out of this. But they won't know that if a parent doesn't step in and take the lead of one, living it, but then talking to them about it.
Yeah.
Because they're hearing so much negative.
And the greatest lesson and the greatest example of this, and this is funny, it's the recent Spider-Man movie. Because...
Don't give anything away yet.
Well, I have to, only to explain this. Everybody's seen it. It came out 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whenever this is going to air.
Okay.
What
do you call this right here? When you're about to tell the end
the spoiler. This is a spoiler.
This is a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear this be spoiled, don't listen.
Where the current Spider-Man, Tom Holland,
anybody
is
in the studio not see it yet?
We're all good. The current Spider-Man
okay to share it? Okay.
Is this new generation Spider-Man, and he goes through some things, and he loses a family member, and he acts like he's had it the worst, and he has to go through the worst times, and
in his Spider-Verse.
In his Spider-Verse, and he's got to sacrifice the most, and he's just hurt. Nobody understands him, and all it took were 2 past generations of other Spider-Mans, and 2 people that said, "We've been where you were. We were at your age. We've had to sacrifice everything. Everything you're doing is what we've had to do." And they were able to come together and relate to one another because of the people that they lost, because of the sacrifices, the things that they had to say no to and step away from. But ultimately, they became the best, and they became saviors. They became the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that they were able to defeat evil and fight the bad guys.
Yeah.
And what it takes for this generation right now is it takes other people that have been where kids have been, which is their parents and their grandparents, opening and having the conversation, being honest and saying, hey, we struggled too. This isn't the hardest generation. This isn't the worst for your generation, how a lot of people think with our Gen Z, they have it the worst. No, you don't have it the worst. It takes sacrifice. It takes some hard times, but you're going to be resilient, and you're going to do better in your future.
Gabby.
I remind you of Mom. It's okay.
That's it. You were talking with that much wisdom. You know, that could happen not just as it pertains to what's happening right now. Every race, especially in South Florida.
Yeah.
We've got a Cuban heritage here that went through a period of Castro. They still are dealing with communism coming in and what they all had to go through. And they're here in Miami. They're here in South Florida, the United States. They're living a better life.
Yep.
Parents and grandparents that went through that need to be an example, that the past hard times didn't cripple them. It gave them an opportunity.
Yes.
People that went through slavery, as bad as it was, human slavery, as bad as it was, can sit down and tell the generation, guys, this happened, but look where we're at today. We can look at it all through human history and see that it's a bad world.
It is.
There's nothing perfect about it. There's bad people.
Yeah.
There's Putins.
There's villains.
There's villains. There's disease.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, those are things in the real world, and we don't have to get stuck there. We can deal with them, have the conversation, the dialogue, get it out of the back room, bring it to the dinner table, bring it to the living room, shut off the stinking Netflix series, have the dialogue on the way to school, have the conversation, see what's touching your kids, because kids will be the target. Fear is going to come upon them. Maybe it's not the bigger global picture right now. It may be a class that they're failing. They're afraid to say to the mom and dad, I just can't get this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a studier. I'm going to get a C, or I'm going to get a D, or I'm going to flunk. Have the conversation. It's not always about penalties and it being punitive and you're going to have to pay for it. If we have dialogue with our kids, we can help them through every challenge that they're facing. The boyfriend, the girlfriend, the breakup, the new relationship, whatever it is, sorry, I lost my virginity. Something happened. I'm hurt. Let's have the dialogue and the conversation.
Yes.
Mom and dad, I'm pregnant.
Yes.
What happens? We have the conversation. All right? I've been hurt. I've been abused. We have the conversation. We can't flip out. We can't freak out. It's real life stuff. Let's get it out there and keep it from controlling us, and definitely remove the fear factor.
You got to remove it.
It's going to hurt. Well, we've tried to model this good, bad, and indifferent in our family. We try to have a lot of dialogue, which we do, which quite frankly, Gabs, even when we're not on the clock at home, we're on the clock.
Yeah.
You came home recently from doing your job, which is a youth service.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing that you threw, and you came home. And not only were you physically tired because it was a long day, but you came home a little burdened.
Yeah.
And something happened, but, here you are, how old are you? 22?
25.
You're 22, you come home, I'm ready to go to sleep, Mom and I are in bed, but when you walk through the door, we can tell, something's got Gabs, and we didn't want you to go to your bed without what happened.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's process. No, we're not on the clock right now, but we are.
Yeah.
That's your job. Let us help you. We talk about it.
Yes.
And wasn't it better when you went upstairs and go to bed?
So much better.
Yep.
And it's funny, there's more fear as a kid. We're almost more scared to tell our parents. But right when the parent starts the conversation and says, what's going on? All the fear is gone.
Good.
But there's so much fear that is on the kid's side of how do I tell my parents something? And we've dealt with this with so many kids of how do I tell my parents that I like somebody? And how do I tell that I'm dating and they don't know? Parents, start the conversation. The ball is always going to be in your court.
Yeah. And if some young person happens to be listening to this because their mom and dad forced them, or mama said, get in there and listen, here's what we want to remind you of. You're going to have a great future.
Yes.
Life is going to be beautiful for you. These hard times are just making you a better person, preparing you for what your great future is going to look like. So hope you all have enjoyed another episode of the Family Business with the Alessis with Gabby Alessi and Steve Alessi.
Hey there, if you enjoyed this episode of the Family Business Podcast with the Alessis, then you'll want to know we've got more insight, more encouragement, more great conversations that we can have on Sundays, and even some surprises coming your way. So you want to make sure you subscribe to our channel and watch one of these next videos here next, because remember, family is everybody's business.